All right, our last health unit we're talking about in class is human sexuality. And I just will record over the PowerPoint like I did in the past for distance learning so that you guys could still get the units. You're just going to miss out on a couple classroom activities, but that's totally fine. Next slide, please. All right, so just looking at some statistics. In 2017, a total of 194,377 babies were born to women ages 15 to 19 years old. This was actually a record low for U.S. teens in this age group, and it's dropped 7% since 2016. Our goal is that it continues to drop, and teen pregnancy rates are, a lot lower, if at all, avoided. That's why we are talking about ways to make sure that we don't end up pregnant as teenagers. Although reasons for the declines are not totally clear, evidence suggests that these declines are due to more teens abstaining from sexual activity, which we'll talk about is the only 100% way to make sure you do not get pregnant or get someone pregnant. The more teens who are sexually active using birth control than previous years is also a factor, so we'll talk about that. U.S. teen pregnancy rates is substantially higher than any other Western industrialized nation. So countries that have similar beliefs as us. So the U.S. is up there. Roughly 1 in 4 girls will be pregnant at least once before age 20. So if you think about how many girls are in your class, if there's 10, at least 2 of them are going to be pregnant at least once before age 20. It's not saying that they can't get pregnant more than once, which would be a lot, but statistically speaking, that's what it would take, According to an analysis by the National Campaign in order to prevent teen and unplanned pregnancies, the annual public cost of teen childbearing due to the cost of public health care, foster care, incarceration, and lost tax revenue is nearly $9.4 billion. So when teens or people that can no longer take care of their children or someone that gives birth that's not, properly insured, the government will pay for it. There's programs that you can get, and we're talking about, public health care, so all the prenatal care and giving birth is very expensive, foster care, abortions, if that's what people believe in. It costs a lot of money because the government pays for it. Teen pregnancy and parenting are significant contributors to high school dropout rates among teen girls. I can only imagine, walking around a high school pregnant would be very difficult. It's hard enough walking around the high school and having people whisper and talk about you, but doing it with a child in your belly would be very hard. Those who have had a baby before age 18, only about 40% of those girls or boys finish high school, and less than 2% finish college by age 30. So there's a significant amount of people not finishing school if they have a baby, which makes sense because that baby is a lot of work and needs a lot of attention, and school is a lot of work, and it's very difficult to balance both. 61% of women who have had children after enrolling in college fail to complete their degree, a rate which is 65% higher than that for students who did not have children. So just because you have a child in college doesn't mean you're not going to graduate, and just because you're enrolled in college doesn't mean you're going to graduate. A lot of people start college and they decide it's not for them or they can't finish their degree, but 61% is fairly high, and saying that if you have a child during college that you're less likely to finish, because again, it's a lot of work balancing children and school, and you probably have a job. Surveys indicate that close to half of all community college students have been pregnant or gotten someone pregnant at some point. That's a lot. The importance of prevention. Teen pregnancy and childbearing brings substantial social and economic costs through immediate and long-term impacts on teen parents and their children. So teenagers that have babies usually cannot support themselves by themselves, let alone support them and their child. So it starts to impact your parents, and like long term, you're probably going to live with your parents in their house with your baby, and now they're raising you and your baby. So there's a lot of things that come into play with this. It's a lot of work for everyone. Pregnancy and birth are significant contributors to high school dropout rates among girls. Again, it's a lot of work, and it's not easy walking around, being pregnant and having people judging you or assuming things. 50% of teen mothers receive a high school diploma by 22 years of age. Usually you graduate when you're 17 or 18, so you can still get your high school diploma after. There's no issue with that. So about 50% of teen moms receive it by at least ages of 22, which isn't horrible. Versus approximately the 90%, though, of women who had not given birth during adolescence. Again, just because you're in high school doesn't mean you're going to finish high school. Not everybody can finish school, but the chances of you receiving the high school diploma after having a baby has just statistically proven to be less, which makes sense because, again, it's a lot of work. And who's going to watch the baby so you can go to school all day and ... These are from my old school. They're statistics, but they are current with the grades, and while it's at a different school, I still think it's very relevant to look at the age of kids and what they're saying they are doing sexually and what they're comfortable talking about. So hopefully we have a student survey from this school that I can find for next year. But for now, we're going to look at the one from my old school, which was Waterville, Elysian, Morristown. Have you ever had sexual intercourse? 16% said yes, and 84% said no. And this is for 9th graders, so that's not horrible percentages, but still, 9th grade's very early to have sex. During the last 12 months, with how many different people have you had sexual intercourse? Again, 86% said none, 6% said 1, 4% said 2, and 4% said 3, 0% said 4 to 6 plus. So mostly, again, at the none. And then a couple people having 1 or 2 or 3 different partners in the last 12 months, which is a whole year, but still, this is 9th grade. Comparing to 11th graders, so when we get older, this is why we have the talk in 8th grade and 10th grade. We cannot forget what we are being educated with. Have you ever had sexual intercourse? We are saying only 43% are saying yes. That's still substantially higher than the 9th graders, and 57% said no. So we're almost at like a 50-50 split here. During the last 12 months, how many different partners have you had sexual intercourse with? Again, that 57% said none because they're not sexually active. 27% said 1, 9% said 2, 2% said 4, and 5% said 5, which is a lot. And we'll talk about why having multiple partners is more risky to your sexual health. This part of the survey only includes those that had said that they were sexually active. So that like 16% for 9th graders answered these questions. Have you and your partner or partners talked about protecting yourself from getting sexually transmitted infections like HIV and AIDS? 38% said never. 13% said not with every partner, and 50% said at least once with every partner, which is good to hear. I would hope that everybody was talking about it, because it's like, jumping off a cliff and just hoping that there's water or something soft to land on. We should be talking about it so we don't get it. Have you ever talked with your partners or partner about preventing pregnancy? Pretty important thing to discuss before you have sex. 43% said never. So they're just going for it. And 57% said at least once with every partner, which is what we like to hear. The last time you had sexual intercourse, what method or methods did you and your partner use to prevent pregnancy? And they were asked to mark all that apply. So if they were using like condoms and birth control, they could put both on there. So 50% said withdrawal or pulling out, which we'll talk about why that's not an effective method. Basically, they're saying they were having sexual intercourse and the male withdrew his penis from the vagina before the semen came out. So yeah, not super effective, but at least they're doing something. 63% said they used condoms, and 38% said birth control pills. Again, those could be used together. And then at the bottom here, you can't see it, but 13% said not sure. I'm guessing that means there was some sort of drug use. They were drunk. They don't remember. They think maybe they used a condom, but they don't know. I'm not sure what not sure means, but 13% are not sure if they use birth control. Again, still 9th graders. The last time you had sexual intercourse, did you or your partner use a condom? 50% said yes, and 50% said no. Again, they could have used other methods, but the condom is probably the easiest barrier method to use and is extremely effective, especially using multiple methods. And it's easy and it's fairly cheap, cheaper than a baby. So, did you drink alcohol or use drugs before you had sexual intercourse the last time? 0% said yes. 100% said no, which is good. But then I'm wondering about the unsure part. Maybe they weren't sure if the girl was on birth control. That could happen. It's good to ask and discuss again why we were looking at who had discussed ways to prevent babies and who had not. Comparing to 11th graders, did you talk to your partners about sexually transmitted diseases? 21% said never, and 79% said at least once with every partner, which is good. We should be discussing and talking about it. Have you talked about preventing pregnancies? Again, the 21% said never, and the 79% said at least once with every partner. And I guarantee in that 21% is going to be the people probably getting pregnant in high school or getting someone pregnant in high school. The last time you had sexual intercourse, what methods of birth control or what did you use to prevent pregnancy? 6% said none, which is a low number, so we're getting better, maybe a little smarter in 11th grade, I don't know. 56% were on birth control pills, 50% said condoms, 22% said a NuvaRing or other implant methods, which we'll talk about the different birth controls in a little bit here. 83% said withdrawal. Again, it could have had multiple things happening at once, so they pulled out before they came. And then 6% said not sure. Again, not totally sure what that is implying.